On the news, more appeals from the Nigerian government as SGF Senate ministers ask citizens to shelve planned protest. Court restricts protests in Lagos to Freedom and Peace Parks. And INEC cautions observers to comply with code of conduct ahead of Edo and Ondo governorship elections. Thank you for joining us on News Now. I'm Simisola Achikun. Amid rising tension in the country, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, has called on Nigerians not to embark on the planned 10-day nationwide protest starting on August 1 over the economic crisis in the country. Akume made the call on Wednesday during a press briefing in Abuja on the eve of the planned demonstrations in the 36 states of the Federation and the Federal Capital Territory FCT. According to him, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu's administration is making concerted efforts to solve the myriad of challenges confronting the nation. The SGF says the government is wary of the dangers associated with protests that are vulnerable to being hijacked by bandits, insurgents, and other criminals, and therefore is open to advanced dialogue.
When peace reigns, policies yield results. Businesses thrive, investments flourish, and creativity is unleashed. The ongoing economic hardships, and they are improving anyway, will abate very soon, and we shall all enjoy endless prosperity. We therefore appeal to Nigerians of whatever persuasion, belief, demography, gender, and status to shun cause for protests against hunger by prioritizing peace and progress.
Mr. President, in his wisdom, has actually been protesting on behalf of Nigerians by ensuring that this key reform that we need to put the country back on the path of social prosperity is being achieved. And we call on you, especially the young people, the youth, we call upon you to please listen to the voice of reason and allow more time for Mr. President's policies to now bear full shape.
In similar move, the Nigerian Senate has called on protesters to shelve their planned action and give President Bola Tinubu more time to address their demand. Rising from a closed-door session during Wednesday's emergency plenary session, Senate President Godswill Akpabio appealed to the organizers of the #EndBadGovernance in Nigeria to cancel the protest and allow the government to work on necessary economic parameters for growth. He noted that the passage of the Minimum Wage Act, Students' Loan Act, as well as the decision to sell crude oil to local refineries in Naira are some of the immediate policies taken by the government to ameliorate the sufferings of Nigerians. The Senate President assured that the National Assembly is willing to legislate on other policies that will bring succor to Nigerians.
The Senate urges the protesters to give the government more time to address their demands, considering the measures being put in place to ameliorate the situation in the country, such as the National Minimum Wage Act, the sale of crude oil to local refiners in Naira, implementation of the Students' Loans Act, the assent recently granted to the Southeast Development Commission and the Northwest Development Commission, bills passed by the National Assembly to further address development at the grassroots. The Senate, and in fact the entire National Assembly, is willing to legislate on all matters that bring about succor to Nigerians in general.
Still on the planned nationwide protest, the Lagos State government has deployed men of the Rapid Response Squad to the streets ahead of the nationwide hunger and hardship protest billed to commence on August 1. The heavy presence of police officers of the RRS and task force were seen on streets around the state on Wednesday as they engaged in patrol exercises from Alausa, Ikeja through the Old Toll Gate, Ojota, Ogudu and Iyanoworo to the Third Mainland Bridge access. At the same time, the Lagos High Court has restricted protesters from taking part in the proposed August 1 nationwide protest to the Gani Fawayemi Freedom Park in Ojota and Peace Park in Ketu area of the state. The court, presided over by Justice Emmanuel Ogundare, gave the restriction on Tuesday, following a preemptive ex parte application filed by the State Attorney General and Commissioner for Justice Lawal Pedro, seeking to maintain and secure public safety and prevent irreparable loss of lives and property in the state during the period of the protests. Meanwhile, a coalition of Igbo political and socio-cultural groups, Lagos chapter, have urged Igbo traders across the state to stay home and not open their businesses on days slated for the protest, scheduled to commence on August 1, 2024, to avoid being attacked. The coalition, made up of 16 different Igbo groups in Lagos, gave the stand at a press conference which took place in Ikeja. They affirmed that the current economic downturn was not limited to Nigeria and not caused by President Bola Tinubu's administration.
We are distancing ourselves and the entire Ndigbo in Lagos from the planned protest by some unscrupulous, faceless elements. National protests at this time, when the federal government is trying to revamp the economy, is going to be counterproductive. We appeal to the president as a gentleman, Democrat, to expedite action on the release of Mazi Nnamdi Kanu through a political process rather than judicial means.
We have agreed that we are not going to be part of this protest, and the information has been sent through our organization, through our coordinating informative process. Everybody has been advised and have been duly informed that we, the Igbos, are not going to partake. The group leaders have been able to intimate their people not to be part of it, and they have promised not to be part of it. We are not going to be part of it.
Still in Lagos, the state government has sealed a partnership agreement with the United States-based Project Management Institute, PMI, to set a new benchmark in infrastructure development and governance. The agreement was made at the State House in Marina, where the project implementation and monitoring unit of the state government signed the Memorandum of Understanding with the American partner. Speaking after the signing, Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu says the state has reorganized project implementing priorities by channeling resources on projects that would improve quality of life for Lagos residents.
Nigeria being a powerhouse in Africa is extremely important to us as Africans, and especially to the PMI Africa team. The PMI Africa team, we've taken it upon ourselves not just to be working for this amazing global organization, but actually we've taken it upon ourselves to bring the cutting-edge skills and the cutting-edge education and the cutting-edge training to our mother continent, Africa, to be able to enable people in government, people in the private sector, even the youth, to have the skills and to have what it takes to get from A to Z in the best way possible, to deliver on their dreams, to deliver on whatever plans and strategies they have.
Projects or to activate, deliverables that would improve the quality of life of their citizens is always a challenge now. It's a challenge now because it's always very difficult, given, like I said, the global disruptions that we see, given our own even economic reality, to be able to plan, for a very long time becomes very difficult. Which is why I believe that we're at a very critical time, identifying your institute as one of the institute that would help validate some of the things that we're doing and be able to allocate and put resources, where it's most needed, and be able to ensure that those resources are implemented and the outcomes and the outputs are seen, in a timely manner.
Ahead of the governorship elections in Edo and Ondo states, the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) has cautioned accredited observers to comply with the objectives of election observation and code of conduct contained in the Commission's rules of engagement. INEC Chairman Mahmood Yakubu gave the warning at the Commission's third regular quarterly consultative meeting with civil society organizations in Abuja. The Commission warned that it reserves the right to revoke the accreditation of any individual observer or observer group that violates the code of conduct for election observation.
The Commission finds the recent event in Edo State, resulting in the deaths of a security personnel, worrisome. Happily, there has been no incident known to the Commission since then. Nevertheless, the Commission will meet with security agencies as early as Friday this week under the auspices of the Interagency Consultative Committee on Election Security. I want to assure you that security in Edo and Ondo will be a major issue for discussion at the meeting. We are concerned about the safety of candidates, agents, and supporters, as we are about the security of our own officials, security of observers, journalists, service providers, and above all, the voters. At the same time, I wish to remind you of your obligation as observers to comply with the objectives of election observation and the code of conduct contained in the Commission's rules of engagement for accredited election observers. A concise summary is contained in the 22-page document entitled Briefing for Observers, available on our website. I wish to reiterate that the Commission reserves the right to revoke the accreditation of any individual observer or observer group that violates the code of conduct for election observation.
The level of preparedness is very high. Consequently, we acknowledge and commend the opening remarks made by the Honorable Chairman, Professor Mahmood Yakubu, which highlighted the importance of transparency, accountability, inclusivity, and conducting free, fair, and credible elections as we march towards Edo and Ondo governorship elections, respectively.
In commemoration of the World Day Against Human Trafficking, the United Nations Network on Migration has urged nations to undertake additional actions recommended by the Interagency Coordination Group to prevent and end child trafficking globally. This year's World Day Against Human Trafficking, tagged Leave No Child Behind in the fight against trafficking in persons, recognizes children as the most vulnerable group targeted by traffickers, hence the need for specialized protection and care. Experts say continuous campaigns will help to address issues of trafficking in persons, smuggling of migrants, and promote safe migration practices. TV360's Comfort Samuel has details.
The International Labour Organization estimates that 27 million people are exploited for labor, services, and commercial sex globally through force, fraud, and coercion. According to the International Labour Organization, 35% of all detected victims of trafficking are children, with girls representing 18% and boys 17%. These trafficked children face a far greater risk of suffering violence compared to adults. Despite global efforts, inequitable social, economic, environmental, and political factors foster this exploitative and discriminatory practice. Speaking on these negative factors, Chief of Mission at the International Organization for Migration, IOM, Paula Pace, says handling issues of trafficking in persons is quite challenging, but the organization is working tirelessly to eliminate it.
We also have supported the establishment of task force in 16 states to make sure that really the action happens where people have more at risk in their community, because we know that trafficking is not necessarily being perpetrated by people the victim don't know. It's often people from their own community, from their own family. So it's important that we really raise such awareness.
Speaking further, the Public Relations Officer of the Lagos Zonal Command, National Agency for the Prohibition of Trafficking in Persons, NAPTIP, Ajaratunde Osho, says in Nigeria, women and young girls make up a larger proportion of the victims of human trafficking.
The girl child has been vulnerable due to various reasons, and most of it could be traced to culture and sociocultural norms and traditions. But these are things that everyone, you and I'm sure even 360 is standing up to, and we're trying to change that narrative to ensure that the girl child is given a place, and we're asking for equity.
These officials add that informed campaigns, outreaches, and abolishing some cultural and traditional practices are crucial to help curb human exploitation.
Trafficking is really a terrible crime and affects all of us, so we really need to put our brain and our willingness together in order to eliminate it.
The root causes arising from issues of poverty, you have economic issues, not having enough jobs around, people seeking greener pastures, and you find traffickers exploiting the vulnerability and desperation of people. So yes, even though we've been achieving a lot, however, there is still a whole lot to be done when it comes to tackling human trafficking in Nigeria.
Since 2001, the United States Agency for International Development says it has provided over $37 million in assistance to 88 countries and regions to fight human trafficking. On its part, the United Nations Network on Migration calls on nations to intensify their efforts to prevent and combat child trafficking and to provide comprehensive protection and assistance to people who fall victims to this crime. Comfort Samuel, TV 360 News, Lagos.
We'll go on a short break here. When News Now returns, Sports Minister to probe favor of Philly's exclusion from 100 meters race in Paris Olympics. Stay with us for details. Welcome back. Here's a recap of Art of Stories. Amid rising tension in the country, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, has called on Nigerians not to embark on the planned 10-day nationwide protest starting on August 1 over the economic crisis in the country. According to him, President Bola Tinubu's administration is making concerted efforts to solve the myriad of challenges confronting the nation. The SGF says the government is wary of the dangers associated with protests that are vulnerable to being hijacked by bandits, insurgents, and other criminal elements, and therefore is open to advanced dialogue. We also informed you that the Lagos State government has deployed men of the Rapid Response Squad to the streets ahead of the nationwide hunger and hardship protest billed to commence on August 1. Meanwhile, the Lagos State High Court has restricted protesters taking part in the proposed August 1 nationwide protest to the Gani Fawayemi Freedom Park in Ojota and Peace Park in Ketu area of Lagos State. In case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV, or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online. For more stories in the world of business, Okwayemi Owosheni joins us to keep us up to speed. What's the latest, Okwayemi?
Well, Simi, the rise in food cost in the country, the federal government has declared that prices would crash to nationwide based on its commitment to ensure food security through the use of new farming techniques in Nigeria. The Minister of State for Agriculture and Food Security, Aliyu Abdullahi, disclosed this in Abuja, the 48th annual conference of the Soil Science Society of Nigeria, saying that the government is fully aware of the current food crisis in the country. Abdullahi explained that the government was exploring various indices to ensure food security by returning Nigeria to a sustainable food production system where the country will be engaged in all year-round farming. We'll go on a short break and be back with stock market reports. Nigeria's equities market recorded its third negative session on Wednesday as investors sold mostly shares of Nigerian Aviation Handling Company, Nigerian Breweries PLC, and other major laggards. The three-day negative close on the bourse this week further decreased the market return this year to 30.76%. Now, leading the laggards, we have Nigerian Aviation Handling Co., which came out last at an end-of-day price depreciation of 10% at 35 naira 10 kobo. It was followed closely by Beja Paint. Now, at the end of today's trading session on the Nigerian Stock Exchange, a total of 1.838 billion volumes of shares were exchanged in 10,847 deals, corresponding to a market value of over 23 billion naira. Now, when compared with the previous NGX trading day, that's Tuesday, July 30th, today's data shows about 189% improvement in turnover. Now, on to the global front, equities index rallied on Wednesday while the yen jumped after the Bank of Japan raised interest rates and investors waited for a U.S. interest rate decision from the Federal Reserve, leaving all our select stocks, that's the UK FTSE, the US Dow Jones, and Japan's Nikkei, in the bullish trade. Now, switching over to Forex, the Naira dipped further to trade at 1,610 Naira to a dollar on the black market, while the British Pound also experienced a dip to trade at 2,085 Naira on the black market, and the Euro traded at 1,750 Naira as well on the black market. That was up our business and stock market reports. Back to you, Simisola, for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Okwayemi. On the foreign scene, a high court in Ghana has barred groups from holding protests in the capital, Accra. High Court Justice Abna Afia Sewa upheld a request by Ghana's police to ban civil society groups from carrying out protests between July 31 and August 6 after the police told the court that they would not be able to provide security to protesters. The police said some of their personnel have been posted for political rallies and election campaigns, and they would not guarantee the protection of protesters. Drone attacks have killed at least 6 civilians in a northern Mali town where the military and its Russian allies recently suffered heavy losses fighting separatist rebels on Tuesday. The Malian army said it had launched an aerial attack in coordination with Burkina Faso's military near the Algerian border. The army says the attack had been carried out under the collective defense mechanism of the recently formed Confederation of Sahel States, which unites the military regimes of Burkina Faso, Mali, and Niger. Well, up next is Entertainment Report on News Now.
Legendary singer and actress Onyeka Onwenu has died after collapsing suddenly following a performance at a birthday celebration. The 72-year-old singer passed away on Tuesday night at a hospital in Lagos. Her demise was confirmed by her children, Abraham and Tijani Ogunlende, in a statement. In a statement signed by the two brothers, the actress was rushed to the hospital after an amazing performance where doctors made every effort to save her life. Onwenu had attended the 80th birthday party of Stella Okoli, the founder of Emzo Pharmaceutical Manufacturing Company in Lagos. Referred to as the Elegant Stallion, the singer slumped at the birthday party after performing. Onyeka was born on January 31, 1952 in Imo State and was raised in Port Harcourt, the capital city of Rivers State. And that's it on Entertainment Report on News Now. Victoria Akonde, TV360 Lagos.
On sports, Nigeria's Minister of Sports Development, John Eno, has said he will probe the exclusion of Nigerian athlete Favour Ofili from the 100 meters women's event at the ongoing Paris 2024 Olympic Games. On Tuesday, the sprinter announced that she will not be competing in the 100-meter race at the ongoing Olympics in Paris due to administrative failures by the Athletics Federation of Nigeria and the Nigerian Olympic Committee. Reacting in a statement on Wednesday, the minister says the Athletic Federation of Nigeria and the Nigerian Olympic Committee must ensure that Ofili is not deprived of the opportunity to compete in the races for which she is qualified and registered to represent the country at the Olympics. He vowed appropriate sanctions after investigations into where and from whom the gross negligence originated. Well, that's it on News Now. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.